We weren't able to reach anybody in the fire department.
The union rep was here at every meeting last year.
Yes. So we
And he lives in
Commission
Connecticut.
was very well informed. This appears to be the same change as last year.
It looks to me like it's similar.
It's
Something.
not-
It's
Right,
hard to
I mean, if we
say.
take it line by, I mean, you know, the fire department, okay, the commissioner should be appointed at the pleasure of the mayor, should have the necessary experience, okay. Fire commissioner may detail from among those holding the permanent rank of assistant fire chief, he can make them a chief of personnel, chief of operations, chief of fire prevention. Such chiefs may be returned to their permanent ranks at any time, and such detail should not be deemed a promotion. So that means if there's an opening and they need to go back to do something else, they can. I mean, that's how I read that.
Should it be a demotion, or should it be a promotion?
It wouldn't matter, but Julius, how I'm reading it, and I could be absolutely incorrect, and I again, if we're going to do this again, I would love to hear from everybody again, is if you're Monday through Friday, 8 to 4 doing personnel, but then you cover every weekend or every holiday or everything else on the line, and I don't...
They would need to explain.
Does the chief of personnel have to be a firefighter? Is my question. That's a question. Do you see what I'm trying to say? Because we have issues here in the paper every day of millions of dollars of overtime, and we have too much overtime, and that was my angst with that last year. I have the utmost respect for the finest and the bravest.
Turn to the camera when you say that.
Finest and the bravest. I do. I just am concerned. I mean, we have to be, you know, cost effective too. And
Right, so let's be clear, at least the explanation that was given last year. I'm not speaking in favor of anything.
so I'll get 3 tickets on my way home, and my house will burn.
Was that this did not impact the overall cost. In terms of the operational budget, what it did impact, we were clear on, is the ongoing budget, because what it allowed someone to do was get overtime and then use that towards the retirement.
Right.
That was the key.
Well,
It wasn't.
That's how I saw it, and I could be the only person here who saw that,
we
and I'd
all
be
saw it
wrong.
that way.
Okay.
It wasn't about the operational overtime given up now. It was simply about somebody made $5 this year, and with overtime they made $7. The $7 was what they used towards their pension. The $2 was going to be given to someone every year anyway.
Right.
Right.
That this did not affect that. It just amounted to what number you retired on.
Right, but
And what they're attempting, sorry, I shouldn't say what they're attempting to do.
They want to bring it back again. They must
This
have a
language
reason to do that.
yes, this language sounds like it allows a similar thing to happen without being as explicit. They went to a marketing person to come back.
The way they explained it last year was that they have a hard time finding firefighters to fill the chief of, the chief of
Whatever those
personnel
jobs are.
position and the
All
fire
the
prevention.
Because they don't want to give
position.
up the overtime.
Right, because they don't want to give up the overtime. And then they're on call on the weekends, these deputy chiefs are on call on the weekends and they don't get overtime.
So he was saying that we couldn't get the
Qualified
more senior
personnel.
and more qualified people to...
And if you remember, I conceded in the end to put it on the referendum, because that was the concession, that we had the discussion, and I conceded to do that. But then again, it came back that they didn't quite get there. So obviously, there's something else there. So maybe if there could be another explanation as to what the justification is of this, maybe maybe we will miss something. I would like to hear more from somebody who does the numbers about this, because that is a concern for me. I mean, for instance, the Director of Human Resources here, I don't know who it is, don't know the guy, I'm assuming it's a guy. He doesn't get to go, whoever it is. They don't get to go do something else on the weekends, so that when they retire in 20 years, their pension is different. They work Monday through Friday, whatever the hours are here at City Hall, 9 to 5, 8 to 4, whatever. And I have a concern with an administrative position in one department being allowed to have benefits that another similarly administrative position in another function of city government does not have the privilege of doing. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
But I think,
And that is my personal opinion. There
contract.
could be many people at the table who disagree. That is a director of personnel for clerks and typists and administrative people versus a director of personnel for firefighters versus the director of personnel for the police department. Does the person who oversees police personnel, that would be an interesting question. Does the person who oversees that position, do they get to cover police overtime on the weekends, to cover special events or traffic issues,
Forget
whatever.
whether it's on the weekend, you're saying, do they get the opportunity to get overtime?
Whatever. Do they get the opportunity to do other jobs that can enhance their pension in the long term, as does the fire department? Because I think that a director of human resources in a, let's say, in private industry, has human resources experience, perhaps has a degree in that specific area, and is not given the same opportunity to perhaps enhance their opportunities as a firefighter who then just who is put in this job. And as it was addressed to us, because nobody else wanted to do it, that doesn't make them good at personnel.
Right.
That was the part that bothered me.
And
It wasn't because they were like really good with people. It was because that was my issue.
it was put to us that they couldn't get anybody to leave the on-the-line ranks to go into these positions because they didn't want to lose their overtime.
Well, it looks like the police department has the same kind of provision,
Yeah.
but it's for the inspectors who are detailed.
And do
our
they
inspectors are in the bargaining unit? Are they still eligible?
That's another, you know.
So, there's a question on the table, can you investigate? The question is, how does this relate to, how does the police department handle it? How does the police department handle this in general? And do we want to hear from somebody, Eileen?
You know, I don't want to start, I don't want to look like I'm the person who's, you know, and I have a concern with that.
Please don't back off.
Oh, I'm not backing off. I didn't back off. Lord
Everyone
knows.
should bring their opinion to the table. and ask the
I would
question.
like, if we're going to address it again, and it has been asked for us to go through the motions of addressing it again, then we need to speak to the people. I was...
I second that.
So I'm asking, who do you want to ask? I mean, so we're going to investigate.
Whoever it is that would want to answer for that.
The
I mean, if it's...
commissioner was...
So we're going to, right, so I'm asking, do you want the commission to come and address us?
Or whoever would be the right person under the commissioner.
Whoever the commission designates.
Yeah.
So we can't demand.
No, I don't demand, I don't want to do, I'm not being belligerent about this. I'm saying that if it failed the last time and they want to do it again, what do they think about it this time that's going to make a difference? And in my mind, this is the problem with this. And in an economic recession, the likes of which we're all experiencing right now, you know, how do you justify this in this economy? And when they're going to budget meetings and all of this right now, how does this come to, the headline of the paper on a fairly regular basis is overtime in New York State and the pension system in New York State. So, you know, I don't want to look like I don't think that this commission wants to put something back on the referendum to have it lose again under the same auspices. But if there's a difference, that maybe we can reword it if the wording was wrong. If there's something we missed, some question that wasn't asked, maybe a misunderstanding, I'd like to understand it better. But to me, this is how this reads, and that, to me, isn't enough to fix it. Because if they're doing it now anyway, why do we have to change it?
So I think the...
Somebody's doing that job now, Julius. Somebody is doing personnel and fire
I'm not
prevention or
arguing
whatever.
for it.
And I'm fairly certain if there's a weekend that needs coverage, that individual is covering that weekend. So if it's that important, what's the discussion? And I'd like to know from the police, how do they do it? It's not, my brother was a cop. I have the utmost respect for the uniform. I just would like to understand the process.
John, are you clear? We're going to ask...
Clear on what the questions are, yes.
No, will you make that invitation, or do you want me to make the invitation to the fire commissioner to come present or send someone to speak to us?
What meeting would we want somebody?
The next one.
About 28th.
Yes.
So we represent